Hi, can you hear me? John. Good evening from my side. It's evening here. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
How's your day going?
Yeah, I'm doing
Oh,
great. Here is early morning in the beautiful Seattle, so we're having a couple of sunny days lately, which is kind of weird in this area of the world.
wow.
But everything is going pretty good. How about you?
All right. That's cool. Like, it's good to hear that that part of the world it's morning and we are in the evening here, and that's very amazing and it's cool hearing that. Yeah. For our viewer, welcome to the show. It's Open Source Wednesday, and we are sorry we are starting late, and you can see that we are even joining audio. Like we're supposed to come in fully with video and everything setting up or set up rather. But then we are coming up with an audio session. It was the glitches that have been keeping us for the past 15 to 20 minutes that we have not been able to resolve. We are really sorry about that for joining late, and we believe to deliver for you and be able to answer your questions around open source and community, answer your question around GitHub Campus Expert Program. So, for those of us that will be joining, thank you for joining us, and those of us that will be watching the recording at the end of the day, really appreciate you too. Don't forget, you can still comment after the show. We'll get across to you to answer all your questions. Yeah, John, I guess we can get started. I remain your Rashid. I'm Rashid Ndasu, basically. I will push you to John to introduce himself. Uh, John, can you tell us about yourself, what you are doing at GitHub,
Yeah,
or where
sure.
you are working, basically? Yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Juan Pablo Flores. I'm a senior program manager here at the GitHub Education Team, where I manage I know it has changed a lot, but I manage some of our student developer programs, one of them being the GitHub Campus Experts. I also help within GitHub to make sure that we have something for you folks available on our platform.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that. Working with you has been a very good thing. Like since I joined the GitHub Campus Expert program, working with a program manager like you, I've been part of other programs where I know how the program goes. So the experience I have in GitHub Campus Expert program through you being the program manager has been an amazing one, and we've been good. Like uh, anytime I need help, like John, I need help, and definitely John is ready to assist you and help you out. So thank you for what you are doing basically. Let me just use that opportunity to appreciate you for all what you have been doing for us. So going straight to the topic of the day, right? And that is we are here to discuss about community and open source basically. And I guess we can get to know what are developers communities. You mentioned in your introduction that you're managing several programs. One of them is the GitHub Campus Expert program. Okay, other developers community that we have. Who are they? What do they do? And yeah, that's basically the question that we are expecting an answer
Yeah,
from you.
no, it's a great question to start, and developer communities in a certain way are communities as a whole are just like a group of people that reunite with a specific mission or goal that they want to achieve. So normally communities will also be more flexible in kind of like their size and the reach that they have. So think about it as kind of like communities are a great way to set a stage and let people kind of like jump in, being able to help out whenever it's needed. Or also there are communities that are more connected around like learning. So which are kind of like the type of communities that we work the most. So communities of learning are those where people reunite and they try to learn, build, and kind of like the MLH phrase, like learn, build, and share. Any technical any technical content or technical products that you can think of. So the whole idea of communities is bring people together, work on things together as well, and make sure that at the end of the day, there's an opportunity for you to contribute or meet new people or learn something new.
Yes, that's very, very perfect. The definition for community, a platform where you get to meet people to build, to share, and apart from that, you network with other people. If not because of community, I may not have the opportunity of meeting Joan in my life. It's possible. So it's because of community that we are together. We are getting to relate to each other, get to talk on how to bring people together, how to impact the whole world, basically. So that's a very good definition and a very good overview of what developer communities are all about, basically. So a group of people that come together with common interests and they have the goal of impacting their community and the whole globe at large, basically. So now that we know what developers community are all about. And in our topic or in our topic of discussion, we said we want to talk about community and open source. So we would like to know what's open source. In our last episode, we get to discuss a bit more about open source, but we like to know your own definition of open source. How do you define open source?
Yeah, it's quite a question, I think. But for me, open source is in essence any software which, like, their code is accessible by anyone, so that anyone can not only see the internals of the code or of a specific product or in a specific like project, but also they can modify it, they can be part of, and they can distribute the code as they see fit. So what I mean by that is that, one of the things that I normally see around open source projects is like someone has any type of problem or they come up with an idea, and some developer or person decides that the best way to build this tool is to make it publicly available to anyone, so that it doesn't matter where you're coming from or what you do, you have access to this tool. Of course, there's like licenses and other stuff, but you have access to this tool to be able to use it, and then modify it as well if you want to get if you want to contribute back to it, and you can even like modify it to your specific needs.
Yeah, like okay, it's basically like the definition you are trying to drive at is making it open source, talking about open source projects or um, open source generally is having access to code base, being able to come up with a problem and look for another set of people to work on that for you, be it contributing to it for free, contributing to it just with the purpose of making the world better and be able to make so many things accessible to everybody. Yeah, that's basically what open source is all about. You can be contributing in different ways. So if you want to know more about open source and what open source is all about, check out our last episode, the one we had with Rizal. She tried her best to define everything for us across that and how that can impact the whole community and how we can be part of them. Yeah. Now that we know the meaning of community, we know the meaning of open source. So, and we know definitely there should be an integration between them. We know some people are coming together to share common interests. That's a developer group or a developer community. And we have somebody thinking of, oh, let's make the world better by coming up with an idea. And this community can come together to be able to solve this problem for the person and making it open source. So I'm asking, why do you think community and open source matters to us? Why do you think they matter?
There's multiple things why it matters, and especially for projects that are basically based on this type of like volunteer type of work. Communities are the best way for open source maintainers to be able to scale and continue to grow like their project. So it doesn't matter, for example, if you have a very small project or if you have like a bigger one. Most open source projects, or a vast majority of them, will start having either like a community or a group of people that is constantly working on them. And what we've learned is that communities, especially developer communities, are not something that necessarily the project starts with, but something that naturally starts growing. And what I mean by that is there's different ways of looking at the interactions within open source. So essentially, first probably you have like a core member, or you have a core member, and well, you have like a maintainer and a couple of core members that are helping to build the tool, and then they pass kind of like they tell other people about the tool that they're building, and through these mouth to mouth kind of like conversations, they promote the tool that they're building. So little by little, these projects start gaining more visibility about the project and start getting more users. And in order to kind of like comply or give the type of let's call it service, but I would say one of the services can like to create like these to share kind of like what everybody's building and create this sense of belonging to something. Communities tend to be something that people build. But before building a community, most of the open source projects will start with something that we call like a club type of thing, where um, with the club, what we see is that open source projects have a very small number of creators, like a small number of contributors and maintainers, but they also have a very small user base and a very small audience. And as they gain popularity, this club eventually evolves into something like a community that is much more focused on maintaining a mission for the community and for the project, and making sure that people understand the structures and the governance of the project itself. So it is, I would say, like something that we've noticed is that most of the times it's something that very naturally happens, but at the same time, it's something that might take time for certain developer communities to be built on.
Yeah, that's very very true. Like talking about growing community is not something that you just start one day and be like, I want to start a community, and you expect thousands of people joining your community and be able to build things together with them. So it's very true that if you want to go into community, you need to start somewhere. Probably starting with a club, organize a club among yourself, be it your classmates or your course mates on campus where if you're a student, and start to grow your interest together, and from there you can develop to solve many problems and be able to solve to come together and solve problems together with other people from other departments or other group or other schools. See, you become a bigger community that you can be reckoned with this basically. So the point is open source and community really matters, because if you want to promote the open source project that you are building, you need community to promote it. It is from this community that you find people that will contribute code to it, that you find people that will make huge impact and make better things to happen through your project. So community really matters. Creating open source projects. Why open source projects too? Why community? Why open source projects need community? Because the people in the community also need an open source project to promote. So it's a two-way forward things. And thank you for answering that basically, John. And my next question will be, now that we know that this thing is important and we know what they want to do for us and what they want to do at large. So, who are those people that you think these communities, or when we talk community, when we talk of developers community, when we talk of open source community, who are this community for? Is it for everybody? Is it for a set of people, or we need to consider certain things to be able to bring people together to say that, oh, they are open source community or they are community of developers coming together?
Yeah, it's a great question, because there's this feeling of, communities should be built for everyone and should be accessible by everyone. But something that we found is that communities also need to have a clear understanding or who their audience is. And what I mean by that is, even if you what I mean by that is that some communities that have tried to have a major like audience, or a very general type of audience, some of them work great. But if you're getting started with communities, we would highly recommend to have a very specific type of persona that joins your community. So what I've seen, for example, in case of successful communities, let's call, for example, Eddie Hub, that is, I would say, one of the biggest like communities of like developers. Eddie Hub Eddie's community is, though it's kind of like open for everyone, the type of audience that you've seen is mainly the students that want to get started with open source. So even though they have a big or a general audience, they are pretty much specialized for a type of community or a type of persona. And this works really good because then you have a better understanding of who is the people that you can kind of like collaborate with in this community. How can you create resources, and also folks that join this community, they not only consume these resources, but they also commit themselves into kind of like what the mission of this community is. If, for example, you are a more experienced developer, probably Eddie Hub might not be the best. It is great for sharing, for example, some of the work that you're doing, but there's kind of like the good thing about communities, and essentially what I would recommend to anyone kind of like listening this session is that communities are a great way of learning and sharing. But if you don't see a community where you feel comfortable, or you simply don't have a community or a group of people that you can reach out to, you can always start your own community. So and that's kind of like part of like the beauty of communities is that it is easy to start one. It is a little bit harder to maintain an active community, but you can always start and test out and start iterating if your community is right for the audience, or if you should change a couple of things to make it more approachable or better for that audience or that specific audience that you are kind of like thinking or you are targeting with that community that you're building. So I would, answering the question, communities are for everyone. There's a ton of them out there. The real challenge is find a community where you feel that you belong, where you feel that you can do valuable contributions, and that you would like to commit as well. So don't expect that the community will do everything for you, but also you can jump in and take some initiative in these communities. So make sure that you find that space where you find all of these characteristics, and that's where probably you'll find like a community where you can stay for a long time.
Yeah, that's very very true. Like any community that you want to be part of, try to be part of community that you feel comfortable, feel welcome, you are ready to commit to it. Not that you be on community communication channel, they post, no reaction, they ask for your feedback on how the community is serving you, you give no response, you just be a part of community without even impacting anybody, without even growing yourself. The community is there for you to grow yourself, but then if you are not participating, if you are not contributing to it in one way or the other, it will be very difficult for you to benefit from it. So being part of community is not enough. You have to be part of community that will make you feel comfortable and that you know you are ready to be part of, to impact other while impacting yourself. So don't just join community as John just said. Don't just join. Join the one that you can make a commitment to, the one you feel comfortable with. And if you do not find anyone around you, you do not find anything you can join. Yeah, it's not a bad idea to start one and start growing one by yourself. He mentioned the fact that it's not easy to grow a community. Yeah, we that we have been doing it, we know how it's difficult today to maintain an active community. Okay, everybody can say, okay, we are starting a community. Yeah, is the community active? For you to be able to start an active community, it required a lot of work and a lot of patience. You have to be patient with your community member. You have to give them what they want. You have to persuade them to do things for you, to feel feedback from, and every other thing that comes to place. Okay, so you can see with this short admonition or short speech given for the last couple 5 minutes now, you can picture what a community is all about. So starting up an open source project, thinking of community, you can try to connect the dots and be able to see, okay, this is where I need to channel my energy, this is where I need to focus more, and this is what I need to do as we progress. So thank you so much, John, for giving us such beautiful insight and an heads up on what we need to focus on. And don't forget, he mentioned the fact that Eddie Up community is doing great. Yeah, I was scrolling through YouTube and I find out a video taking people on how to contribute to link free. Link free is one of the products that is coming from Eddie Up community. So it's I was like, oh, just few months ago or not long ago that the product launched, see how people are getting into it. If you're a starter or you just want to start in open source, check out link free GitHub repo, start contributing. It's as simple as just reading the steps, contribute to open source, and your PR will get accepted and you get the features on their platform. So it's a good one to know where you fit in and where to contribute to. So thank you so much for that and for telling us a bit about around that. So my next question will be now that we know who the community is for, like I know that it's for everyone and I should choose the one that is best for me. I should not just go into anyone. So how does the community support and promote open source? In your definition the other time, you mentioned the fact that is community members are the one to promote and to bring into consideration to take it out to people to use the product and all that. So how do you think community support and promote open source basically?
There's a lot of different ways. I think promotion is just a very small part of how communities in open source work. Something that is very important to consider is that contributions to open source go beyond only code. And what I mean by that is that probably as developers, contributing to open source gives you this kind of like street cred, which means like it gives you some credentials of, oh, probably you're someone knowledgeable because you are contributing to a public project that probably other developers are using. But a lot of the times we ignore some other ways of contribution because we don't consider them probably as valuable, but the reality is that they are extremely valuable for any open source project as well. And on that topic, communities can help you not only to solve kind of like bugs and new feature requests, but they communities also create content so that other people can learn how to use these specific open source project and find the value out of this project. On the other hand, there's people that might not be technical that can help you out writing documentation and making sure that this documentation is accessible to everyone. There's other folks that help out with design systems, so making sure that there's not only the written part or the written it's like your documentation is not only written, but there's also some graphical items that make it easier for folks to read or to understand. There's also folks that like to organize events, so working with people that organize these events to help them to organize these events that probably can help you kind of like reach more people, and so on and so on. There's also moderators, people making sure that the community stays in the right lines and there's some sort of regulation on the behaviors that are allowed and that are not allowed. So what I'm going through all of these is that communities are not only kind of like a great way to promote open source and support it, but there is some other ways that communities tend to contribute to open source projects, especially if you have like a community around a specific project. And to be honest, I think like one of the biggest components that is also one of the most challenging is making an open source project community that is not only focused on like entirely about like the project, but there's also some other communities that help you to grow and help you feel like you belong in tech. And I would say those two aspects are one of the most challenging ones. So if you're part of a community for an open source project, you can contribute no matter your technical skill. And I'm pretty sure that any open source maintainer, no matter the size of the project, will pretty much value these contributions that you make, even if they're not technical. So at the end, what you want to optimize as a member of these communities, or if you want to contribute back to this project, try to find what are some of the main pain points that the community or the project currently has, and talk with people, discuss how would be the best approach to solve these issues or solve some of the problems that the project currently has, and then make a proposal and start working on it. So communities go beyond promotion. Communities help in so many different ways, and most likely, if you have some transparency and great communication with the rest of the community, you will be able to contribute back and solve some of the main pain points that the community is going through.
Yes, that's true. Like, you nailed it. Like, some people see community to just be okay. If you bring up community, what your target is basically to just do promotion. Like, people don't look at the other support they can get from the community other than the promotion part. And some people will be like, my community is technical, and people that I'm expecting to be in the community are just technical people, people that can just write code, and not knowing that growing the community that contain people that can write code, people that can do promotion, people that can moderate, the moderators, and just make everything comes together. We have to bring a lot of people together, mentor them, give them the right resources, and let them know what to do and assist them better and give them necessary things to do what they are expected to do. Yeah, yeah, it's very, very true. And next thing that we'll be answering, we've taken a couple of time talking about open source and community. So we need to tell people, and since we know the support we are getting from the community, we need to tell people that want to go on into this thing, what do they benefit from it. We've been talking about, okay, we promote, we moderate this a probably a repository or moderate a discussion channel or moderate a communication channel or any other thing. While I'm doing that as a member of the community or as a contributor to open source, what do I stand to gain? What are my benefits? What are those things that I should be looking out for to get? Okay, be it technical skills, be it other skills that is necessary for me to have, be it getting other necessary benefits. So we want to ask you, as an experienced community manager, and that you've seen a lot and you've managed a lot of programs like that. So, what are the benefits that you think an open source contributor, a community members of an open source community stand to gain in the long run?
Yeah, there's a ton, and specifically for, I don't know, specifically for students, this is a great opportunity to get real world experience with projects. And the cool thing, especially of open source communities, is that no one will ask you for a resume about your previous experience in order to be able to contribute. So communities are a great way to, as I probably mentioned in the beginning, it's a great way to learn. So if you don't know how to contribute to open source, or you want to get more involved with a specific project, or you want to develop your technical skills or and non-technical skills, joining a community is a great way to do it. You probably will get some help from other community members on how you can make contributions that are not only valuable for the open source projects, but they're also valuable for you as professional experiences. In fact, we are having a new program launch at GitHub called Octernships, where the whole idea of the Octernship is to provide you folks with easy access to open source projects and also companies, so that they can give you some professional experience on before you graduate. And the cool thing about this is that it follows the open source principles. So most likely the companies that are that are partners in this project will not ask you for like your resume, but rather will review your skills via a pull request. So you can already see some of the benefits, um, where I would say most likely, as a student, it can give you a ton of professional experience, but it can also help you uh, make that first open source contribution. Which personally, when I did that, I it was one of the most heartwarming moments of my life, and I was really excited about it. Um, and I would say like approach communities as like a great way to get involved in a project. So if you want to, if there's a project that you really like and that you would like to see grow, or that has helped you out in the past, getting involved is a great way for you to be part of the decision making process of where the project is going next. And you know, I think there's a lot of benefits, for example, from on the other side, like organizing events and connecting with other developers, so that you get more visibility not only about the work that you do, but also about the not only about the work that you do, but also kind of like just on the day-to-day type of conversations that happen on communities. So you can get to know other people. And from what we've heard, a few folks have been reached out because of their open source contributions. So if you're looking for a job, making sure that the work that you're doing in this community is visible, and that you can like also set yourself for success and share what you have been doing in these open source projects can help you out to even land the job. So there's a ton of different ways in which communities can benefit you, especially if you're a student. As a professional developer, I think there's other benefits that you can get out of being part of these communities. But the ones that I have the most experience with are student developer communities.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Apart from gaining technical skills, apart from that, you can still have the opportunity of networking, having a pool or amount of people around you that you can reach out to for help. Probably you need to debug a kind of code. If you are in an open source community, you can reach out to people. You can even the most of the open source community have a channel where you get to discuss about bugs, and also being part of a community will give you a technical skills that you need, and to give you that industrial experience that you need for to move on in your career. So basically, apart from that, you get a room for networking. You get to network with thousands of people, millions, if not even more than millions sometimes, because there are some community that are grown up to a certain level that, oh, if you've been part of them and if you are thinking of growing, definitely you'll be able to get across and be able to have a lot of people around you that you can reach out to for help. And there are many people that you should be able to, or you should ready to help along the lines too. So while you are getting from the community, you should have in your mind that you want to help others too. So community is about you help me and I help you, and we decided to grow together. Um, my own help may be greater than your own help for me, but then the purpose is, are we growing? Are we getting to where we are going? So that's basically the target and the goal. Yeah. Now that I know the benefit I stand to gain when I be part of open source community, and what will be this discussion? The next discussion will be, oh, so I'm interested and I want to get started. I would like you to give us a brief intro on how we can get started. And for those of us that joined the last show, Rosette tried and she gave us a lot of ways we can start. I will try my best to put the link in the description of this video after this show, and you can check that out. But then let's hear from John his own experience and what he think, or how the best he think we can start our open source as a community member, or starting a community ourselves, or even organizing, or do whatever we can do as a community contributor or as an open source contributor.
Yeah, so there's so many different ways to get started. The first one that I recommend is that when you're trying to make your first contribution, work on a project that you have worked with in the past, so that you have some context on how the project works. So it's not that common that you just like randomly open a repository and then you find an issue open that you can easily fix, but rather what normally happens is that people use a project, and then they start finding things that could be improved. And since you already know a little bit of the code base or how it works, it is easier for you to propose changes. On the other hand, if you are looking to make like your first open source contributions, there's a ton of projects that are very friendly with first with folks that are making their first contribution, and I would say most of them are. And you have like one of the benefits out of like the past couple of years is that I've seen a ton of projects now have open or public Discord servers. So the best way to kind of get yourself involved is to jump into like their Discord server, introduce yourself, and you can either like be very straightforward and ask for if there's any work that you can take, or if you already have detected something that could be improved, you can jump into the server and ask people if they have thought about some of these changes that you want to do so that you avoid making duplicate work, which means two people working on the same thing. And if they have already taken that like a specific issue or project that you want to work on, then you can ask for like others. But definitely showing some initiative in the multiple communication channels works great. And the last recommendation that I have is not to, we see like these massive open source projects that is essentially kind of like watching the Olympics, right? Like you see these projects that have like millions of downloads, and they kind of like lure you into believing that, or they lure you into want to make an open source contribution. But if you're getting started in open source, I would recommend that you start smaller and try to find one of the projects, as we mentioned before, that are these glob type of projects, which means they are a little bit small, but they also have they're a little bit small in terms of like the audience that they have and the contributors and the maintainers. So, but they also represent a great opportunity for you to kind of like make that first contribution and get a little bit more hand holding on how to do so. So I would recommend going through these smaller projects first and then jumping into something big. For me personally, like the first project that I contributed to was a super small project that was for a very specific use case, and it felt like so good when the developer merged my pull request, and it was like a super simple fix, but for me it meant a lot. um, and on the other hand is like don't get frustrated with contributing to open source. Maintainers have like 1,000 things going on all the time. There are maintainers that have not only that project but other projects that they are working on. So be kind with open source maintainers. They have a lot going on. Either like if they're a full-time open source maintainer or a part-time or hobbyist, which means they have like a full-time job and then they create open source on the side. I would recommend being kind with them, and if you see that they have not like reviewed your pull request or answer to you, do like friendly pings, but also don't overwhelm them with a ton of messages or DMs. These folks are normally going through, well, not going through a lot, but definitely organizing a lot of stuff or working on a lot of stuff. I would recommend going to on the GitHub Education and on education.github.com. You can search for Community Exchange, and there we have a few open source projects that have been created by other students. And what a better space, if you're a student, what a better space to contribute to an open source project than going to a project that is maintained by another student. So definitely will highly recommend that you jump into that project and into community exchange, and find a project where you see you can be um, providing some valuable contributions.
Yeah, that's very cool. Starts very small and try to grow from there. If you start with a very small project, it may be for a specific use case. Just focus on it, get your PR match, and from there you get the energy to contribute more. That's why I drop a link in the chat. If anybody is thinking of how to get started and where to start from, that EduHub community created an open source project for us to get us started and make us have that feelings that we have that we contribute to open source. I will put another link in the chat very soon. So, but because of our time, we've only have less than a very short time more to live here. We've gotten to one of the excited stage where some of us are. What's why some of us the time that some of us are waiting for. All right. So basically, I would like to ask John one of my last questions to go, and that's basically around the GitHub Campus Expert program. So can you hear me? Yep.
Yes, just like I hear you.
Can you just do a brief recap of what GitHub Campus Expert program is all about? If I want to apply, what should I look into, and how can I emerge as one at the end of the
Yeah.
application process?
So Campus Experts applications are open. Essentially, what we do with the program is that we help you folks to build or grow communities on your campus. These can be online or offline communities. And the whole idea is that as a community leader or someone who's starting a community, most of the times you don't get any resources to get started. And we want to make sure that all students have access to um, kind of like some core principles on how they can have a very impactful community on their campus, but also making sure that these communities are welcoming and accessible to everyone. And that's why we have the GitHub Campus Experts program. This program essentially, what we're looking forward to do is to support you folks with, first of all, the GitHub Campus Experts training, which is one of our core resources where you learn some of the most important leadership skills for your community. And also, it will provide you with an opportunity to review how you can make an impact on your community um, or your school through communities. And at the end of the training, folks make a community impact proposal where someone from the GitHub staff will, once you submit this proposal, some GitHub staff will review, will help you out to make sure that it is optimized to the work that you want to do or the impact that you want to have on that campus. We also teach you about how to organize workshops, public speaking, and how to to cover technical elements or technical components for a more accessible or kind of like for making it friendlier for beginners. So if you are leading a community or want to start one, you can apply on education.github.com/campus experts. Rashid, you're part of like these community already, and we've seen folks that are doing some great work with their communities. And at the end, what we're looking forward to do is to support anyone that wants to grow a community and wants to make sure that people learn some valuable skills before they graduate. It doesn't matter if it's only about like Git or GitHub, but we try to look even beyond that. So if you want your community to be around like Python or JavaScript or any programming language, we are completely okay. And we want to make sure that you have some support there from GitHub to have the best community ever. Applications are open until until February the 27th, the 28th. And it's a two-step application process. I think there was a link here that was shared on the stream with all the information. If you have questions about the application process, we have just launched some new documentation that you can read and find all the details about what the process looks like and what we're looking forward to. We also added in this documentation some tips and tricks and tips so that you can have a successful application to the program.
Yeah, okay, that's like nice. Thank you so much for giving us a brief and a very concise summary of what it means to be a GitHub campus expert and what is expected of a campus expert. And for if you are applying, you can think around what John just said and think around how you can come up with your essay to be able uh, to get shortlisted at the end of the program or at the end of your application. And after that, we'll be having a couple of discussion around this in a couple of weeks before the deadline. As mentioned, the deadline is around 27 or 28th of February. And if you have any urgent question, you can reach out to me via Twitter, or you are on a Discord server with you, you can just reach out to me on any server that we are together. I will be very glad to respond. And if you don't know how to reach me, just comment below this video. I'll be able to get across to you and kick our discussion started. So with that, I really appreciate John for coming, and we really thank you for being on the show with us. And we know definitely next time that I will call you to come and talk to us around this, around other topics. We'll definitely be around here to talk to us. All right, thank you so much. You can say goodbye to everybody, and for that, for those folks that are joining, thank you so much for joining. Um, yep, that's the end of our show. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Bye bye.